The crowd stopped mid-step. The silence hit harder than the summer heat that soaked the town square. My grandpa, standing there with his hand gently resting on his cane, blinked in disbelief as the HOA woman, platinum bob, overdone lipstick, clipboard like a sword, sneered at him like he was dirt on her porch. "You people don't belong here," she spat loud enough for half the market to hear. I froze behind the vendor stall, rage bubbling just beneath my skin. That man raised me. The same hand she insulted had once taught me how to hold a shovel, fix a fence, and stand tall. Now, at 74, those same hands reached into his pocket, pulling out the neatly folded list of groceries Grandma had sent him to get. "Ma'am," Grandpa said quietly, "I've come here every Saturday for 20 years. Karen's voice sharpened like broken glass. "Well, you're not welcome anymore. Not with that outfit. This is a private community market. You don't live in the groves, and you're clearly not a vendor." He glanced down. Simple button-up slacks, polished shoes, nothing offensive, unless you counted being old and brown-skinned. I watched my grandpa's pride slowly shrink as murmurs rose from shoppers nearby. Some averted their eyes, others just turned away. No one stepped in, not even the market manager, who awkwardly rubbed his neck and mumbled, "Maybe it's best to come back another time, sir." My fists clenched. I knew Karen's type, power-drunk from her petty HOA position, always on patrol, always ready to flex fake rules like they were federal law. But this time, she went too far. She didn't know who she was messing with. Because while she puffed her chest like she ruled the place, she had no idea the young man in the produce tent, the one unloading crates of tomatoes and watching the whole thing unfold, wasn't just another vendor. He was the silent partner who just bought the entire market 3 months ago. Me. And if she thought she could humiliate my grandpa without consequences, she was about to learn exactly how wrong she was. I didn't say a word as Grandpa slowly walked away, shoulders sagging like a man carrying far more than groceries. Karen smirked like she'd won something, like she'd protected the sanctity of her precious market from a threat only she could see. I stayed silent, watched, took mental notes. See, I wasn't just angry. I was strategic. After Karen strutted off, clipboard bouncing like she was headlining a fashion show for tyrants, I finished unloading the tomatoes, peeled off my vendor apron, and made a call. "Activate it," I said. "Activate what?" my assistant replied. "Clause 3. Emergency Ownership Authority. Full override today." There was a pause. "Are you sure, sir?" I looked down the row of stalls where Karen now interrogated a teen over a lemonade license like she was Judge Judy. "Yeah, I'm sure." By 2 p.m., the shift began. The overhead banner that once read, "The Groves Community Market," was taken down. In its place, Riverstone Market, under new ownership. Vendors started getting texts, "All HOA affiliations revoked. Report to main tent for updated contracts." Karen, of course, was oblivious. She stood near the flower stall, sipping iced tea, already reaping praise from 2 elderly residents about keeping the place safe. That is, until she noticed the new signs going up. "What is this?" she snapped at the market staff hanging the rebranded posters. One of them shrugged. "Owner's orders." She blinked. "Owner? This is HOA property." I stepped forward, wiping my hands on a towel, calm as a loaded gun. "Actually," I said, "the HOA sold 80% of the market to a private buyer this quarter. Guess who that buyer is?" She narrowed her eyes. "No, that's impossible. You're just the tomato guy." I smiled. Correction. I was the tomato guy. Now I'm your boss. And let's just say I don't appreciate how my family was treated. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Before she could speak, I continued, "You see, my grandpa built this community before you even knew where the Groves was on a map. He laid bricks, painted houses, and hosted potlucks right here, and you banned him for shopping." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. You embarrassed him in front of a crowd. That's not just a bad look. That's personal. She took a step back. I wasn't done. Tomorrow morning, you'll receive formal notice that your HOA position no longer holds any sway over this market. And if you have a problem with that, I pointed to the new sign fluttering in the breeze, take it up with the owner. The next morning, I arrived early. Sunlight still stretched lazy across the rooftops, but the market was already buzzing. Vendors whispered, eyes flicking toward the fresh banners and updated booth tags stamped with my company's logo. But the energy shifted the moment she arrived. Karen marched down the gravel path like she owned the place, clipboard clutched tighter than ever, lips pursed in permanent disapproval. But this time, she didn't wear authority. She wore desperation. She stomped right up to the office tent where I stood reviewing the new vendor map with my assistant. You, she snapped, jabbing her pen at me like a weapon. This is a violation of HOA regulations. I didn't flinch. This is now a privately operated market. Your HOA regulations don't apply here anymore. That market is HOA property. No, I cut in, flipping open a folder on the table. Per the updated land transfer filed with the county 3 months ago, the HOA board sold their interest in this section of the square to my company, Riverstone Developments. Fully executed, fully paid, recorded with the clerk. I slid a copy toward her. She didn't even look at it. This is fraud, she hissed. You tricked them. I laughed softly. If offering them 3 times the going rate is trickery, then yes, I'm a criminal mastermind. Her jaw tightened. You can't just remove HOA oversight. This was our market, Karen. The HOA gave up that right the moment they cashed the check. And besides, I added, your behavior yesterday, that's exactly why I bought it. She shifted on her heels, trying to find footing that didn't exist. That man was loitering. He was my grandfather, and your treatment of him wasn't just wrong. It was discriminatory. I handed her another piece of paper. This is a formal cease and desist. You're to refrain from interfering with vendors, shoppers, or staff. If you continue, I'll pursue harassment charges. And since this is now private property, that includes trespassing. Karen's face turned a shade of red I'd never seen on a human being. She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. We're done here. She turned to leave, but not before tossing her clipboard onto a vendor table, shattering a jar of homemade pickles. I looked at the jar, then at her. Add vandalism to the list. The vendor, Mrs. Patel, who'd been selling those pickles since I was a kid, just shook her head. Beta, your grandpa must be proud. I nodded, but inside I wasn't done. Not yet, because Karen had one more lesson coming. And this one would hit her where it hurt the most, her reputation. Karen disappeared for a week after that morning. The market felt lighter, calmer, like a weight had been lifted. Vendors smiled more. Regulars returned in droves. And Grandpa? He came back every Saturday, wearing his old cap and carrying Grandma's grocery list with the same gentle pride as always. But I wasn't done with Karen. I didn't want revenge. I wanted reflection. So I reached out to her. Yes, you read that right. I invited her back. Only this time, under one condition, she'd be given a booth. A single empty stall, table, chair, sign, show info booth. Ask me anything. She showed up reluctantly, lips tight, expression guarded. Maybe she thought it was a trap. Maybe she just wanted attention again. Either way, she sat at that booth for the entire day. And no one came. Not one shopper, not one vendor, not even the residents who used to praise her. They all passed by without a glance. Some with raised eyebrows, some with small smirks. A few whispered things like, finally, and, about time. She sat there alone for hours, flipping her clipboard, rearranging pens, pretending to check emails. The message was clear: power without respect meant nothing. Late in the afternoon, Grandpa passed by her booth. He stopped, looked at her. Karen stared down at her lap, suddenly very small behind that table. "I don't hold grudges," Grandpa said softly. "But I do remember faces and how they made me feel." She didn't reply. He gave her a nod. "Be better." Then he walked off. Same cane, same slow grace, but this time the whole market paused for him. Vendors waved. Kids smiled. Even the musicians under the oak tree played a little louder as he passed. Karen didn't return after that. Her booth stayed empty for a few more weekends. Then I had it taken down. In its place, I installed something new, a permanent plaque on the old brick wall near the bakery. It reads, "In honor of the people who built this community with love, work, and dignity. This market belongs to everyone." Next to it is a photo of my grandpa from the 1980s, holding a basket of tomatoes, smiling like he always did when he thought no one was watching. We never told him about the plaque, but when he first saw it, he stared for a long time, hands trembling just a little. Then he looked around the market, eyes glassy, and said, "She didn't know who I was." I smiled and put an arm around him. "No, Grandpa, but now everyone else does. If you felt what Karen did was just plain wrong, and you believe every grandpa deserves respect, then hit that like button. Drop a comment saying, 'Respect for Grandpa.' And if you want more stories where justice hits back harder, make sure to subscribe because the next chapter, it only gets better." Never underestimate someone, especially when you don't know who's watching.